Welcome back. Yeah, it's kind of strange. I guess I like the idea of popping in and out whenever I want instead of like scheduling a certain time to upload a video. Um, I guess it just depends on what kind of behavior I want to encourage. I was going through my news feed and I found out that Governor Newsom, Gavin Newsom, our governor of California, has um, talked about what will happen if he doesn't get the federal funding that he's talking about. So, courtesy of this Axios article, I found this video from CNN, and let's listen to it. We'll riff on it a little bit.
Position of the White House seems to be that any money for states would be premature. What's your response, sir?
No, it's not charity. I mean, a year ago, Jake, we were running a $21.5 billion surplus. And here we are at $54.3 billion budget deficit that is directly COVID induced. We have been managing.
Directly COVID induced is what he said. And I mean, I don't know. I agree that the policies in place were directly COVID induced, but I don't agree that the budget deficit that California is in right now is solely because of the coronavirus. So I think that the policies are largely to blame for the deficit. So I know that it might be like slicing hairs, like, is it the virus or is it the policies? But if you look at other states, they've been able to manage. So, in California is like a really productive state in the country. Probably, I think the number one, right? Number one economy, the fifth economy in the world. Anyway, let's take a look.
Our budget efficiently paying down our long-term pension obligations. We had a bond rating that went up twice last year, the highest in decades. So we're not looking for charity. We're not looking for handouts.
Don't forget what Gavin Newsom likes to spend money on, right? Remember that we've got sanctuary cities in the state, and we've got some really weird programs out in San Francisco, and that they use the public funding on. And now he's kind of, going back to the federal government. He's like, give me some money here. And it's like, well, if I was a federal government, I'd say, I'm not sure if you've got your priorities straight, right? Like when I was a kid or when I was younger, and my dad, gave me money or something along those lines, there was always had to be some sort of accountability show for it. I'm not saying that this governor's not accountable, but I'm just saying that if you were to look at the items on a line item, on a list of things that he's spent money on, I'm not sure if they would all line up and be in favor of what the federal government would be in favor of. And not to say that those two interests need to be in alignment for them to properly spend their money as a state. But I think obviously there's definitely a conversation to have, right? If you go back to daddy and you're like, hey, I need some more money. And daddy's like, but what have you been spending your money on lately? And you're like, but exactly. So I don't know. Maybe that's not the correct analogy, but in my mind it is. Let's take a look.
Social responsibility at a time when states, not just California, large and small, all across this country, cities and counties, large and small, all across this country, are facing unprecedented budgetary stress. It is incumbent upon the federal government to help support these states through this difficult time.
I think it's incumbent upon the federal government to fill in the gaps where the state and the local municipalities can't fill. But once again, when you go back to daddy and asking daddy for more money, and daddy wants you to spend your money a certain way, and you've not had a history of spending money like he wants you to spend it, that's going to be an issue.
Well, the House passed a bill on Friday night with money for states, but Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has suggested it's dead on arrival.
So look at what they're doing here, right? Well, the House passed a $3 trillion bill, But the Senate and Mitch McConnell, who is a Republican, is saying it's dead on arrival. Um, I don't know. Are they pitting us against each other, or is he being forthright with us and genuine in the way he's presenting the news to us right now? I don't know. That's on you to decide, not me.
Can you explain what you think will happen to California if the federal government doesn't give you money to help you out?
Well, the same folks that say it's dead on arrival, I hope they'll consider this. The next time they want to salute and celebrate our heroes, our first responders, our police officers and firefighters, consider the fact that they are the first ones that will be laid off by cities and counties. The folks that are out there, the true heroes of this pandemic, are healthcare workers and nurses. Those county health systems have been ravaged. Their budgets have been devastated and depleted. The budget counts depleted since this pandemic. They're the first ones to be laid off. So we've got to square our rhetoric with the reality. 20% of Americans are unemployed.
So first thing I want to point out here is look at the amount of concern on the face of the dude on the left. I don't even know his name, and I don't care to know his name. But look at the amount of concern on his face. You really got to ask yourself, is that genuine? It's got to be, right? Like I've deep down, I got to believe everybody is well intended, right? I got to believe that this guy is really well intended, and I got to believe that Governor Newsom is too. So how do we make sense of this, right? When Governor Newsom comes out and goes, well, everybody, for those folks out there that say that this bill is dead on arrival, I'd like to remind them that the local governments, which he has no control of, by the way, but I'd like to remind them that the local governments are going to be firing laying off their firefighters, their police, and their first responders, right? Is that what type of a statement is that meant? Is that directed over at Mitch McConnell in the Senate? I mean, I think it is. It's most appropriately directed at him. But why are they telling that to us as a public? Like, why is that being presented to me, right? Because right now, that just makes me all emotional, right? I'm like, wait a second. So you're going to fire the police officers and the firefighters that protect us, right? Instead of you taking a pay cut, or instead of other politicians throughout the state taking a pay cut, that seems most appropriate to me. There's also something to do with overtime. Like, there's a huge problem with overtime, in my point of view, for state workers. And I've never been a state worker before. I've never been a firefighter or a police officer before, but I know that they work ridiculously long shifts and then have like 3 and 4 days off at a time, and they get paid overtime for it. I'm sure that there's an appropriate reason for that somebody can probably educate me on. Be nice to know. But I also know that as a former restaurant manager, overtime is a really big deal, right? So if I was a local municipality and I was taking a look at a budget thing, I wouldn't look under employee labor and be like, oh yeah, firefighters, they got to go. I would be more inclined to look at how much firefighters are being paid in an overtime basis and be like, oh, okay, well, maybe this is some of the fact that we can pull out of our labor costs. But the way that he's presenting it here is meant to do something to, right? Remember, this is national news. Like, why does this matter to somebody in Georgia, right? I'm presenting the way that I see the world. You make your decisions as you see fit. You make your own opinions.
In a few weeks, over 100,000 Americans will have lost their lives. These are Depression-era unemployment numbers.
Depression-era unemployment numbers, says the guy that wants to continue the lockdown. And for what, right? What are we talking about here? And I'm not minimizing the impact of the people that have died and that will die of coronavirus, but I am saying that it's not like there's bodies stacked up in the streets or even at the hospital for that matter.
We have to own up to that. So I'm not looking to score cheap political points, but I do want to make this point, Jake. We have an obligation, a moral and ethical obligation to American citizens all across this country to help support cities, states, and counties.
Okay, and I agree with. We have a moral obligation to help people across these cities, states, and across the country that need help. Problem is that the way that he feels like helping people is different than the way that I would say we should help people. I say that probably be a good idea if you let people make their own money. You let people plow their own corn or pan for their own gold again. You know, like that's what work is. That's what work always was. It was always about producing a product, and then money came along, and it's all about making money now. But what he's essentially saying, what he wants to do, is continue the lockdown, and by helping people, he means redistribute basically tax dollars, right? They want to just print trillions of dollars and throw it into the hands of the Americans, and you know, almost like we don't know where this money comes from. You got to earn the money to tax the system to collect the tax dollars. Like that's how it works. So anyway, just wanted to give you that video. Like I said, this is courtesy of this Axios article. Right off the bat, they start to pit us against each other with this statement. The House last week passed a bill that includes $500 billion for state governments and $375 billion for local governments. But the Trump administration and Senate majority, like as soon as they get into that, but the Trump administration and Senate majority leader, as soon as they go in that direction, they're trying to divide. They're not, in my opinion, right? I don't think they're actually presenting me with news at this point. I think they're presenting me with a slant. But anyway, that's on you to decide. That's not on me to decide. So anyway, look out for stuff like that. Join me on the Wesley James Show. You can find me anywhere: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, if I ever figure it out. And one of these days I'll post up the phone number to where you can call me while I'm riffing on articles. All right. I'll talk to you soon.